related to the work on this area. Well, thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. Not only you, but also around 70 or 80 people who are connected through the YouTube. And particularly thank you to our speakers, Fernando Mérida Martín, Innovation Expert from the Directorate for Growth and Innovation at the Joint Research Center, Pablo Cortés Sachedad, Secretary General of Enterprise, Innovation and Entrepreneurship from the Andalusian government, and also our colleagues from EIT, Luc Incorbaja from the EIT Strategy Officer, Tina Benda, Risk Manager, EIT RawMaterials, Pierluigi Franceschini, Director of Innovation Hub South at EIT RawMaterials. He's a last-minute incorporation to our agenda because he's on the place of Lorena Jurado, Business Development Manager of the Innovation Hub South, who at the last minute had to change her agenda. And last but not least, I would like to thank our Vice President for International Affairs, Ángeles Gómez Borrego, and her team from the Vice Presidency at the CSIC, including Moira Torrent, who will be presenting the work we have been developing as partners of EIT RawMaterials and the mission and upcoming actions of the Regional Center Southern Spain. Finally, I would like to remind that this is a hybrid event and is also available on YouTube, and after the meeting, it will remain available in the streaming Delegación CSIC Andalucía and Extremadura channel. We will send you the connection, and so you can revisit it afterwards. And now I would like to invite Ángeles Gómez Borrego, our Vice President for International Affairs of CSIC, to start the session. Ángeles, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Margarita, and thank you all of you for being here physically or virtually, but especially those of you who have come to the headquarters of CSIC Delegation in Andalucía. You see that it's a beautiful place to be. And also this makes us to remember the flavor that we are back to the period in which we could meet together and the things are as they used to be. I hope that we will see all again in the near future in the frame of this collaboration we are establishing today. As Margarita has said, I have the privilege of being the Vice President of International Affairs of the Spanish National Research Council, that we call CSIC in the Spanish short wording. And we are one of the main research organizations in Europe and the largest one in Spain. You may know already that CSIC performs research in any area of knowledge with more than 100 institutes. Now we are 124 with the last incorporation of the 3 national centers. One of them, IGME, very much related in the focus of the research with the topic we are dealing today. As an example of the research we perform, I would give you some figures. In Horizon 2020, CSIC was granted with 901 actions with a budget of 375 million euros. So we have indeed a great potential, and we hope to increase our participation in the forthcoming, the actual Horizon Europe program. We have indeed a strong commitment with inter, multi, and transdisciplinary research, and also with multi-sectoriality. One of the recent examples we can put of this cooperation is the example of the PTIs, the interdisciplinary technological platforms, which are an instrument mission-oriented with well-defined objectives and measurable products. This is a key instrument of research and innovation to solve some of the challenges we have at a scientific, economic, and social level. They are integrated by many or different research groups from different CSIC centers and specialities, and open to the participation of companies, public administration, and higher education institutions, and of course, also to social agents. We need to work together, this is clear, to be able to tackle the global challenges and to achieve the objectives of the Green Deal and the digital transition, but also to reduce raw materials Europe's dependency on third countries. We need to diversify the supply from primary and secondary sources, and also to improve efficiency and circularity while promoting responsible sourcing worldwide. This is what is stated in the action plan of critical raw materials. The confidence that this collaborative path will foster all these transitions and also the Europe's resilience in this area is together with the need of bringing together academia, industry, and research institutions, is one of the main reasons why we are involved and part of these EIT innovation communities. Some of you may already know that we participate in this one, EIT RawMaterials from the very beginning, 2014, and also in EIT Food and from the beginning as core members. And recently we have been associated to EIT Climate, also thanks to the participation with INEA, one of these national centers. For the purpose of today's meeting, let me focus on our participation in the topic of raw material in the past framework program in Horizon 2020. We participated in up to 70 projects, 30 of them were related with these raw materials, and still are running 13. And including this hub we are launching today, which is one of our relevant projects. This has represented the possibility of cooperating with other institutions to try to make raw materials a strength, and for us Europeans to have the best possible future in terms of sustainability. Our involvement in this KIC has several implications. First, we are committed with the ideas that promote the creation of this KIC, and I will read here: securing a transition to green energy technologies, to securing growth and sustainable consumption, and to securing access to clean and efficient consumer technologies. This is the only way to go, really, if we want to maintain and even promote the social welfare in a sustainable way. There are strong differences between the EU member states and also among the regions in terms of resources, peculiarities, capabilities, strengths, and weakness, but all will contribute to reach the balance. And in this respect, this region, as Margarita mentioned before, Andalucía, but also Extremadura and Murcia, have a potential strength for the sustainable development of raw materials industry. It has the resources, but not always the existing networks between actors, stakeholders involved from extraction to the final user allow the necessary relationship that are needed for having a real good innovation network. So not always the innovation is what is needed. And this is one of the things we try to solve or to promote with the creation of this hub. As nearly everything in life, we can do better. And in fact, we need to increase our real impact in the society. And in this task, the delegation we have here in Andalucía represents an invaluable support for reaching the society. We are in a post-pandemic scenario, provides a fragile socio-economic context, but also an opportunity to make it better through cooperation. And all in all, and despite the fact we are always, there is always a certain degree of uncertainty regarding the paths we take, CSIC, we firmly believes that this is the appropriate one, and is coherent with our leitmotif to promote scientific research, technological development, but not just for itself, for themselves, not isolated in solitude, because research, technology, and digitalization and innovation, of course, are no more, no less than a means or a way to link together the knowledge with the citizens. In this paradigm, the kids are an opportunity to expand and connect all these elements. So thank you again. Welcome to the new hub of innovation in the raw materials field in southern Spain. And I hope you will enjoy our launching event. And this will be, I hope, I wish, the beginning of many joint events and projects to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Ángeles.
Ok. ¿Presentación? ¿La pongo yo? Aquí está. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming here today, and those that are connected through YouTube. My name is Moira Torrent, and I'm head of the EU Policy and Strategy Office at the Vice Presidency for International Affairs in the Spanish National Research Council, the CSIC. And as Margarita and Angeles said, I'm going to give you an overview of how we got from being part of the EIT RawMaterials to the RIS Hub Spain, our mission and the upcoming actions. So this is some information that you already know and that's been mentioned before by Angeles and Margarita, that minerals, metals, and advanced materials are right now key enablers to achieve the objectives not only of the European Green Deal, but also of the digitalization, as we've mentioned, and that's something that it's been very relevant right now with the publication of the new roadmap on raw materials. So today, as we know, only a fraction of the most relevant raw materials is produced in Europe. So we need to change that. And the way to change this is through, of course, a circular economy approach. That's why we're talking about the Green Deal. And through innovation in recycling, substitution, processing, mining, and exploration. So as the European Commission, in the words of the European Commission, as the EU does not produce all the raw materials that are necessary to meet our demand, our industry faces global competition in access to raw materials. So that's one of the key points of the raw materials, which makes vision, well, of course, I'm sure probably you will tell you more about this, but very briefly, the vision of the raw materials is to develop this sector into a major strength for Europe. And its mission is to enable sustainable competitiveness to the European minerals, metals, and material sectors along the value chain by driving innovation education, and entrepreneurship. And how this is going to be done? Well, this will be released by integrating knowledge from the knowledge triangle, that it's industry, higher education, and of course, research. And engaging these stakeholders from the entire value chain. So that's why the motto of the raw materials is Connecting Matters, because the key point or the key strength of the innovation communities, of the EIT innovation communities, is that they connect different stakeholders in key sectors through Europe. Here's also a map of the structure of the EIT raw materials. You can see that it has innovation or RIS hubs all over Europe, and now we're opening one in Spain. It was a little bit lonely, so now we have one hub here. So what is the regional center southern Spain? Well, our main objective is to increase from one side the presence of the EIT raw materials here in the region, which is a relevant mining region, as you all know, and on the other side to try to address all the relevant topics or the key topics that are in the strategic research and innovation agenda of the EIT raw materials, but with a special focus on raw materials exploration, extraction, and processing. Our goal is to first engage the EIT raw materials with the local innovation ecosystems. On the other hand, to establish stable relations and collaboration with local stakeholders throughout the knowledge triangle, and engage higher education resources to promote entrepreneurship and education and training in entrepreneurship capabilities, and of course to try to enlarge the EIT raw materials innovation community with new partners. Well, as you know, we are located here in the Casa de la Ciencia in Sevilla, and the RIS Hub, the regional center, Southern Spain, is led by the Spanish National Research Council. Well, as Ángeles has said, we have a strong presence here with 24 research institutes in Andalucía, Murcia, and Extremadura. And of course, we have a tight connection with public authorities, all the research institutions, higher education, and all the regional innovation ecosystem. And why in the south of Spain? Well, as you know, the mining industry here in Andalucía generates more than 10,000 direct and 30,000 indirect jobs, and it's now gaining ground as in the socioeconomic context as an activity that it's capable of representing or bringing prosperity and wealth. And of course, as I've already mentioned, the raw materials sector, or the raw materials in general, right now it's one of the key points in the industrial strategy for Europe. Well, the region has 6 active mines and up to 70 research projects for new exploration field. And what we aim, as I've already said, is that we want to connect relevant stakeholders from different areas in the sector to improve the development of the region. And how are we going to do it? Well, we plan an activity plan for the first 2 years of our life. And it's focused in 5 main issues. First of all is the community and network building. Networking, it's, well, our main reason of existing here. Also support to business creation and entrepreneurship, education and training, communication, dissemination, and outreach activities, and last, the governance and strategy of the RIS Hub. The different activities that we're going, I will give you a brief overview of the different activities that we're planning to do in each of the areas that I've mentioned. On community and stakeholders network building, we will, our plan is to build a network of stakeholders to establish cooperation, introduce the EIT raw materials to the region, and strengthen the regional community. We will we're willing to participate as stakeholders in the elaboration of the RIS strategies that are right now being prepared. We will try to identify synergies with stakeholders and opportunities for collaboration, including cross opportunities with the European Raw Materials Alliance, which I'm sure Pierluigi will talk about just in a minute. We were planning to do a roadshow in 2021. Now it's not going to be possible, but I'm sure that next year we will do that. Across local ecosystem, we will raise the awareness of the existence of the regional center, of course, and our main activities. We are planning different matchmaking and brokerage event to bring together research, industry, and higher education in order to, foster collaboration and cooperation activities. And of course, we want to involve local trust partners in the project. So if any of you will be interested in joining the regional center as a partner, well, just let us know, because we're open for business. Second, the business creation and entrepreneurship support. We will, of course, disseminate the existing programs of the EIT RawMaterials, which are, very, very interesting for SMEs and spin-offs and local companies. We will establish meeting or sessions with the local innovation ecosystems in order to try to engage students, researchers, and innovators in these business support activities from the EIT RawMaterials, namely booster call programs, but not only that, also the calls for project as we usually know it, or other initiatives or prizes or whatever. So we will also try to engage startups and industrial partners, and also, as I mentioned, students and researchers in business creation activities, because one of the things that the EIT RawMaterials, I believe it's something that it's common to all KICs or innovation communities from the EIT, is to strongly support the entrepreneurship of researchers and of students, postdocs, PhD students, and so on. As for education and training, we will, try to explore all the different education opportunities that are right now in the region from the higher education institutions, and try to compare them to the ones that are already being offered by the RawMaterials Academy, and try to, find synergies and things that are not being already addressed, and that could be in a way be included in these activities. We will, of course, disseminate and communicate all the activities of the EIT RawMaterials Academy. We will promote initiatives on innovation, as I said, and entrepreneurship in higher education institutions. And for some specific activities that we are planning for this year and mostly for the next year, is we will offer one fellowship to the Baltic PhD Summer School 2022, where we're planning to offer that. We will organize the RawMaterials Text Flow workshop. And also, as for wider society learning activities, we will have a course on social license to operate in next year. And last, as for communication, dissemination, and outreach activities, of course, you're right now in the first of the activities that we have planned, that is the launching event. We have a communication and dissemination plan, and we will have a strong presence in social networks and, in different activities that are organized through the region. We will participate in as much EIT RawMaterials related events as we can. We will, as I said, organize and participate in brokerage events and info days. And we will strongly disseminate and communicate all the different opportunities from the EIT RawMaterials, and also from the EIT RawMaterials Academy, and from the EIT RawMaterials in general. And the last is the governance and strategy. We will have and prepare a regional strategy plan to try to, as I said, first contribute to our regional programming frameworks, but also try to be a stakeholder in the preparation of the risk strategies. And we will participate in the coordination activities of the different risk hubs, because as you saw in one of the previous slides from the map, there are several risk hubs through all Europe, and we do coordinate all activities and find synergies between each other. And I think that's all. Yeah. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you can, contact me later, or you have this email, and the team will get in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Moira. Now, Pierluigi Franceschini, the floor is yours.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks to CSIC for hosting this very important event. I'm very happy to be here. My colleague Lorena Jurado should have given this presentation, but unfortunately she had to cancel her trip here. But of course she will, well, she sends all his greetings to all of you, and she'll be involved in all the activities. Yeah, my name is Pierluigi Franceschini. I'm the director of the Southern Hub, Innovation Hub of EIT RawMaterials. That is the hub that deals with Spain and Italy from the geographical point of view. And, okay, I have this. Well, I'll give you a very broad overview of the activities of EIT RawMaterials, what we do, because we are actually the leading global partnership in raw materials. So there are no other partnership around the world as large as the one that we have built since 2016, when also CSIC was really active since the beginning. All right. Well, this map has been already shown by Moira. Moira gave a very good overview of the rationale for the RIS Hub, what they mean. So I'm not going to add additional things, but just wanted to, well, actually, I'm very happy that we are starting this today, because I remember we had a meeting, I think it was beginning of 2020, when we were discussing with several Spanish partners who could have been, you know, the best institution, and the choice was really quite naturally falling on CSIC due to the presence in several parts of the country, and of course the high research profile, but also its involvement with other stakeholders, like with the industries. And well, we have a little bit improved the map, which was looking a bit empty as far as Spain was concerned. But actually, I want to, well, that doesn't mean that Spain is not active in the EIT RawMaterials. We have a lot of partners. Just going, this is the list of partners, of core and associated partners of EIT RawMaterials as of today. And this is also not, let's say, it doesn't say the whole story, because we have at least more than 20 project partners, so additional institutions that are participating to a lower, let's say, with a lower level of involvement, but they are really participating actively in projects. But core and associated partners, that the list that you can see here are those, let's say, they have a higher involvement, and CSIC is one of the core partners since the beginning of EIT RawMaterials activities. So, well, let me give you a little bit of context, so, because really what is the motivation for EIT RawMaterials to exist, but it connects very well to the motivation of launching a hub, a regional center in the south of Spain. So we have been talking and discussing a lot about the Green Deal, the green transition, but you know, many of you here are aware, but I think that you would agree with me that it's less discussed in the public debate how much raw materials are important to this transition. If you look at some numbers, it's really quite clear. For example, if you compare a conventional car with an electric vehicle, you will see that the kilograms of different metals that are needed to run this an electric vehicle, which is supposed to be, you know, the let's say the most important vehicle in the future, if we want to let's say embrace the electrification and thus the green transition. You can see that, for example, not only materials for the battery, but also other materials like copper, the amount we go, for example, to something more than 50 kilograms per one vehicle, while a conventional car was even slightly lower than 20 kilos. There are also many other metals like lithium, as you can imagine, and a lot of graphite and cobalt and nickel, etc. So there is really, you can see that the electrification, which is of vehicles, is really metal demanding and metal intensive. And the same kind of reasoning we can do also, sorry, I have to move my masks from time to time, but talking it goes down. The other, if you look at the metal intensity of power generation, here the graph shows the kilogram per megawatt of power, of output power, and you can see how, for example, offshore wind and onshore wind are extremely metal intensive compared to, for example, natural gas and coal. And the same applies to solar photovoltaics technologies. You know that there is a list of so-called critical raw materials that periodically the European Commission is updating. These critical raw materials are really important for several industrial sectors, and we like very much this graph on the left part of the slide here, because it compares different industrial sectors that are using this kind of metals, and you will see that the sector are like the renewable energy sector, the e-mobility, and also the defense and space. They are based on a number of technologies that you can see listed at the center of the picture, and these all technologies are based on materials or raw materials that, you know, in Europe we are not producing at all in some cases, and thus we are extremely dependent on import from China and from South America or Australia, for example. And today, you know that there is a lot of pressure on raw materials prices. Of course, it's something that is, let's say, has different reasons, some of which connected to, of course, the COVID pandemics and how, you know, the economies are starting to run. But there is really a chronic dependency that we have in Europe, and this is something that we have to work on if we want to really embrace a sustainable green transition. EIT RawMaterials is addressing these challenges with innovation and education. Okay, these are the two main topics of our work. We have structured our strategies into three programs that we call Lighthouse program, so sustainable discovery and supply, sustainable materials for future mobility, and raw materials and circular societies. On top of this picture, you can see the different thematic areas that we cover, so from exploration, mining, recycling, and processing, substitution, so we are also covering the substitution part, which often involves development of new materials. That is a topic where, for example, CSIC is extremely strong. And also the concept of circular economy, which is quite, you know, transversal to all of these topics. A few numbers of what we have done to date. As I was reminding, we started full regime in 2016. Today we have invested more than 300 millions through our instrument in several types of projects. This has allowed us to secure more than 1,000 jobs. We have supported more than 300 startups, and we have also involved 200,000 learners through our programs, especially those programs that are targeting schools. What we do can be easily structured into these three pillars, so matchmaking and networking, acceleration, and academy, okay? Basically, innovation, the innovation team falls into the central pillar, acceleration, where we have our projects for startups, but we have also our collaborative projects that we call upscaling projects. We have also a program for acceleration, as Moira was mentioning. And on the right-hand side, we have our our academy. Of course, the education part is extremely important for the activities funded by our funding body, EIT. Entrepreneurial activities is really the core of the concept. We have programs that are encompassing the whole higher education spectrum, so master and PhD programs, but we also have programs for let's say, professionals and lifelong learning. And for example, these are kind of the programs for professional are those where most often we see the involvement of research and technology organizations. So it is a topic that we find is quite interesting also for these organizations. And also wide society learning programs, that is programs focusing on schools and on the wider public to transmit the message of the importance of raw materials. Matchmaking and networking is the other activity that we do, which is, let's say, from the point of view of the resources and budget allocated, is the one that takes less budget, but is really, really the core of our activities, the most important and valuable activity that our partners are recognizing in what we do. So we do a lot of events. We have tried to adapt to the pandemics and with a lot of virtual events lately, and hopefully we are starting from now on to have also in-presence event as the one of today. So, from the point of view of the learning cycle, we address learners in a very broad life cycle, so from school, higher education, but also for companies. And we have specific programs for each one of these, let's say, of this target audience. We address this audience through projects, so we fund projects. All of the projects are based on competitive calls. This is also our, let's say, life cycle on how ideas are turned into values, so into products for the market, for example. We have programs where we can support really embryonic ideas from researchers, for example. We have a program which is called Jumpstarter, which is dedicated to researchers, but also to students, for example. Then we have our accelerator and our booster program for startups. Then we have our innovation projects, which are our upscaling projects, which are really those that, in terms of size, are the largest. And, well, here there is on the last box on the right side also ERMA, the European Raw Materials Alliance, which is something rather new among the things that we do and the programs that we run. Is a program that we have been running since a year. I will give a little bit more information in the following slides. Innovation projects are, as I said, collaborative projects, very similar to those that you most typically see in Horizon 2020. You saw in Horizon 2020, and you will see in Horizon Europe. We are addressing higher technology readiness level, and typically these projects, after they end, they have to hit the market within 3 years, okay? We have now an open call for this project, so here I have just mentioned a few acronyms of projects that were led by Spanish partner, Innolog, Whisper, Inspires, and Recop. If you go to the link that you see at the end of the bullet list, you will be able to have more information about these projects. Well, our call ninth call of our cycle is open. It's the second call within 2021. This is something also new. Typically, we were running 1 call per year. Now we have changed a little bit the system. We run 2 calls per year. We have simplified and streamlined the process. We introduced a 2-stage system so that people do not have to really write a full proposal, but they can, let's say, have with a 5-page proposal, they can test the interest and whether there is interest and whether this is an idea that is worth, is worth the preparation of a full proposal. The stage 1 deadline is November 19th of 2021. And this is a call that then stage 2 will be in March 18th. And these projects will be starting, the project that we will fund in Cavacol 9 will be starting in June 2022, okay? While, for example, the previous call 8, was for projects that will be starting in January 2022. So we think we will keep this call cycle also for the future. All right, so, well, we are an actor that is also very much involved into bridging this famous valley of death. Okay, so from public funding to actually market introduction. And we have a new instrument now in our toolkit, which is ERMA, the European Raw Materials Alliance. Some of you may have seen the launch of these events a year ago. The European Raw Materials Alliance is really a large-scale alliance created by the European Commission actually stimulated by the European Commission to really address the issue of raw material sourcing in Europe. And we are managing this alliance, basically. Today, more than 500 organizations have joined the alliance, and this alliance is really has the vision to secure access to critical and strategic raw materials for Europe, but also advanced materials, and also it is supposed to increase the know-how and to really create new value chains in Europe that are either non-existing or that are extremely weak now in Europe. The European Raw Materials Alliance, ERMA, has two work streams. One is a stakeholder consultation process, the one that you can see on top. And in this stakeholder consultation process, what we do is we discuss with our community. For example, we discuss regulatory aspects, regulatory bottlenecks, but also other more strategic and market aspects. One report of one of our cluster created through this stakeholders consultation process was issued last week. So the stakeholder consultation is structured into at present two clusters, one addressing rare earth magnets and motor, and the other materials for energy storage and conversion. Okay, so the first cluster that was launched on rare earth magnets and motor delivered a report that you can see online really last week. So I invite you to have a look at that because it gives a lot of interesting information and is a really call to action from the community to the European Commission to act and to do something about rare earth, magnets and motor that are raw materials and products that are really crucial for the green transition. The second cluster will deliver its first report towards the end of the year. Now there are other clusters upcoming. Please take with a bit of grain of salt what is written now, because there is circular economy mentioned and others, but we are still discussing internally. We don't know whether it will be circular economy. It's still a subject of debate, but let's say I wanted to leave this slide there just to give you an idea of the things that we are discussing. The other work stream of ERMA is really related to investment cases. So we collect investment cases and we try to build a financing strategy using different instruments that are available at EU level. For example, from loans through the European Investment Bank, but also other kinds of grants, for example, the European Innovation Fund. So we are in contact with different public and private institutions that will be intervening in the investment cases that we have collected so far and that we are screening. Okay, just to conclude, I would like to invite you to participate to our event, one of our events that is happening in few days, basically, the 13th and 14th of October. We have our expert forum, which is one of the events that we run on a, let's say, on an annual basis. This year will be combined with a brokerage that is aiming for, partner and non-partner to network and to create new consortia for the upcoming call. I would like also to remind you our big conference next year. The Raw Materials Summit will be done on the 23rd to 25th of May as a physical event in Berlin, and I invite all of you to save the date and participate. So thanks a lot for your attention, well, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Pierluigi, and Moira, and Angeles. Now we have a break for coffee, and then we will also air the room. Then we go out and to the room to the left, then there we'll find the coffee, and we come back in 15 minutes or so. I think during this break we will take a photograph. Mar, ¿la foto es ahí fuera? Sí. En la puerta. On the front door, on the stairs. We will go for a photo después del café. Cuando acabe el café. When we finish the coffee, we will let you know, okay? Okay, thank you.